1984 was written by George Orwell, and Huxley wrote Brave New World, 1932. In these two works presented two different approaches to control the minds and behavior of people. This is 2024. Is our world more like the dystopia of 1984 or Brave New World? Now meet the late Neil Postman, a New York University professor of communication, also known as a secular C.S. Lewis. His amusing Hours of Death, Postman differentiates Brave New World from the world of 1984 in the following manner. In 1984, the state controls people through, quote, externally imposed oppression, end of a quote. So if the state asks you, how many fingers do you see? And you say 4, which is correct. But if the state wants you to believe it is actually 5, then the state will use whatever means necessary, including torture, to get you to say 5. But in the Brave New World, where the goal is to eliminate pain while maximizing pleasure through advanced gizmos, people, quote, come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacity to think. Where did that brain go? It doesn't matter. I don't need that brain to induce myself in this constant pleasure lifestyle. So, when the state asks, how many fingers do you see? People who have been made happy after taking Soma pill, you take that and you're just happy. You say, what fingers? How many fingers do you want me to say? It doesn't matter as long as I've been made happy, entertained, and pleased. In 2024, is our world more like the dystopia of 84 or the Brave New World? A good case can be made that it is the juxtaposition of both dystopias. So what does that look like in 2024? In 2024, Soma, the happy pill, is tantamount to mindlessly binging on all kinds of social media, TikTok, Instagram, what have you, streaming services like Netflix, online games, and our face glued to smartphone. It might as well be part of our body. Search for truth? Whichever view won't get me canceled is fine. Now back to my original program, my Soma, pleasure-inducing activities. But for those of you who are quite not addicted to Soma yet, you have another hurdle to overcome. And this is where 1984 comes in. The coercion of those in power who controls the meta-narrative. In my day, we called it the discourse. The discourse is network power who determine what can be thought and said at a given moment. You break from that, you have a hell to pay. That's called discourse. You know what that looks like? I was in New York City last week to preach, and I spoke to a veteran physician whom I knew. That's not his real picture. While talking about gender dysphoria, he said something that caught my attention. So I asked him to write it down. He said, sure, as long as I don't mention his name. Do you think I'm going to show his face? That's what he wrote to me. He said this. In 2000, in medical school, they used the term gender reassignment. In 2019, I happened to use that term, and my boss warned me not to say it. In 2019, the only acceptable term is gender confirmation. And then he added, if I didn't comply, I would have lost my job, and I'd like to get another job in that city. That's what that 1984 looks like. I'm afraid that we, as part of affluent class, are so committed to taking Soma, the happy pill, in search of pleasure-dominant lifestyle that what Scripture says against a post-truth world, like believing that a fetus, the unborn, is nothing more than a blob of tissue, doesn't ring a bell. We come to love, that is blindly believe. The misinformation and disinformation spewed by a large segment of social media, mainstream media, streaming services, and Hollywood, I didn't say every one of them. There's a remnant in these industries. But most of them, they are the purveyors of post-truth, postmodern world. But because we adore their technological gizmos that amuse ourselves to death, as well as undo our capacity to think, we just go along. So how should we live? So above all, do not run and disengage from the world. Jesus, in his last prayer before the crucifixion, said, quote, "My prayer is not that you, God, take them out of this world. The persecution is coming, but I'm not praying that you will take them out of the world. We need them in the world to be my priest." But of course, a lot of us run. Some of you guys love church too much to the point where it's not even healthy. World be damned. I've been in church just waiting for his return. We don't know that Christianity. That's caricature of biblical Christianity. That is not a real Christianity.